guys, my name is Brittany. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving authors a second chance.
It's Brittany, bitch.
We all have those authors that we just want to like so much, but we just can't connect with them. But I decided to give two authors that I read last year a second chance. They're very popular, they're very famous, their books are well acclaimed, but I didn't like their debut novels. So I'm gonna give their subsequent novels a chance. So Casey McQuiston, I'm looking at you for Red, White, and Royal Blue. I did not love this book. I think I gave it 2 stars eventually. I had so many issues. You know, the book was way too long for being a romance. The chapters were really long, and the narrative voice was very disengaging. Like, I just had a hard time making myself read it. I didn't connect with anyone except for like one side character, and it was way too political. Like, I just feel like the romance was lost on like so many other things that I didn't really feel the romance anyway. So it ended up with the 2 stars. And to remedy that, I'm gonna try One Last Stop. And this is a female-female romance, which maybe I'll connect more with. I always wonder that myself. I don't read a whole lot of male-male romances, and maybe that's why I didn't connect with it as much. But One Last Stop is about August, who goes to New York City and falls in love with a girl named Jane on the subway. And apparently Jane's been stuck there since the 70s. That's literally all I know. And I know that she has like a group of like ragtag friends she moves in with in an apartment, and apparently they're like amazing and wonderful friends, and it's like kind of like a found queer family trope that I enjoy. So I'm hoping this is a better novel than Red, White, and Royal Blue. And also, I just love the cover. It just looks so cute. I don't know, I have such high hopes for this, but I'm trying to like lower my expectations because, again, this one is a pretty long one, just like the last one, and it looks like they have really long chapters. Again, that's one of like my biggest pet peeves of any book is just when chapters are way too long, especially for like the context. Like, you know what, just start another chapter. I'd much rather have short chapters. I feel like that was almost useless instead of having long, overdrawn chapters. The next book on this list is inspired by Alex Michaelides, the author of The Silent Patient, which I gave 1 star, and it was one of my least favorite books of 2020. I fucking hated it. I was like okay with it. It was like a 2 star most of the way, and then at the very end it plummeted. I was fucking pissed. It was the worst ending I think I've ever read. It was so dumb. Came out of nowhere. The story was pointless. I was pissed. A lot of people who loved The Silent Patient did not like The Maidens, which is his second novel, and I'm gonna give this a shot. A lot of them apparently don't like this one if they love The Silent Patient, and those that didn't like The Silent Patient really enjoyed The Maidens. So I have a normal amount of expectation for this book to not be as shitty as The Silent Patient because that fucking ending was awful, and I will not apologize for hating it. It was another very fast, quick read, and so I'm hoping for at least this. So The Maidens is basically about a cult surrounding a professor at a university, and girls are getting murdered, and that's really all I know, and they obviously suspect the professor. I did hear from someone that apparently the plot twist is really disgusting and like sexual, and like I have a hard time with sexual violence in books, so for that it's probably already gonna get like down a star, so we're gonna see what's happening. But I'm only like 20 pages into this, and it's really not captivating me whatsoever. We're basically following Mariana, who is a group therapist, and her niece, who's basically her adopted daughter. She goes to see her at college because her roommate was murdered, and then she somehow gets involved in the investigations. I don't fucking know. I don't know what's gonna happen with this book, but so far it's not even like reading fast like a thriller, which I know people said it was. I've heard that from multiple people as well, that this book, even though it's a thriller and has really short chapters, is kind of slow. And I hate slow books. I don't mind if it's like slow and I'm loving it, especially if it's slow and I'm not enjoying it. Like, anyways, I'm gonna get started on this and see how far we can get. So I started The Maidens today, and the book is right next to me, but I'm not gonna pick it up. So I'm on page 120 actually, and it's just been like one of the worst days. I'm not gonna talk about it because sometimes if you talk about it, it makes it worse. And you know what? I already have my eye thingies on. I just washed and dried my hair, which is why it's super frizzy, and I'm ready for bed. I'm ready for bed. I'm ready for this fucking day to be over, and I'm kind of ready for this book to be over. I find it pretty boring at this part. Like, I honestly don't see how it's like really a thriller at all. It's pretty boring. I just don't understand our characters' motivations. So we're following like Marion, and I'm pretty sure that's her name. Anyway, she is a psychotherapist who runs group therapy sessions, and her niece, who is basically her adopted daughter, has a friend at college who is murdered, and she's like along for the ride trying to figure it out. I don't know, it really doesn't like make sense, and even 120 pages in, it's just a lot of backstory and a lot of like things that I don't care about. So far it's not looking great, but I'm not ready to DNF just yet. So I'm planning on finishing this tomorrow, when tomorrow is a better day. And also, hot tip, if you ever get these, fall asleep or like go lay down with them while you're in bed, and then right before you fall asleep, like take them off. They're so refreshing. So I would highly recommend. Anyway, I'm gonna give you an update tomorrow, and let's hope that tomorrow is better than today. So I finished The Maidens, and Alex Michaelides did not redeem himself. I'm also giving The Maidens 1 star. This book just did not work for me at all, and I just, you know what, maybe he's not the author for me. As you know, we are following Mariana in this novel. She's a group therapist, the worst I've ever seen, by the way, and she gets a call from her adopted daughter, who's actually her niece, who she's raised for like her entire life ever since she was 6, and she gets a call from Zoe, who's her niece, and she says like, hey, someone's been murdered at my college, which happens to be Mariana's alumna. And so she goes and just tries to investigate. I don't even know why the hell she was involved in the first place. She involved herself in the murder of Zoe's roommate, and basically the whole time she thinks it's this professor who has a cult like relationship with a group of his students he calls the Maidens, and they're like basically a very talented female only group of his students. Let me just say, the first 3/4 of this novel read like a really bad literary fiction. You would not think you're reading a thriller at all. It didn't even feel like a mystery. It felt like a bad literary fiction, and just did not work for me, and the dialogue was so stilted and awkward and strange. And again, Mariana is like the worst therapist I've ever seen. Like, she like deliberately does not follow any fucking protocol, and there's like a suicidal patient she doesn't do shit for. Like, she should be reporting this. The fact that she abuses her authority to get into the fucking police investigation is just so frustrating, and like a deliberate misuse of authority. If you are in law enforcement or therapy or social work, I am so sorry. Please don't read this book, because it is highly offensive to your professions. Like, nothing in this is done correctly according to what your job actually fucking is, and it's just, honestly, I have no idea how this made past like the editing process, because this is not how like investigations or therapy sessions or any of this work. And another thing, the Greek mythology is obviously a really big part of this book, but it's basically red herrings throughout. Like, it honestly kind of ends up meaning nothing in the end, and it's extremely frustrating. Like, the Greek mythology was such like an interesting building point, and I was really hoping that we would go somewhere with it. I think it was really interesting, and I really think that he should have leaned more into like the cult thing. Like, that would have been so good. Like, this book has such a potential for like a dark, culty academia feel, and it just didn't give me that at all. Like, it just turned into another cliche 1-star book, to be honest. Like, I don't even know how people enjoy this. I just feel like it's so offensive on so many levels to just especially even women. And I think that he just shouldn't write female characters. Like, he honestly just shouldn't. I think this book definitely perpetuated the fact that a lot of people blame women for men's problems. You know, like raising a serial killer and how the mom impacted that. And again, you know, like a girlfriend being responsible for her boyfriend's emotions. And, you know, what is not talked about at all is the rape and grooming and all these things in this book that are not even like talked about at all. They're not explored, even though it's obviously a really big theme. And it's just really disappointing. In addition to all that, I guessed the killer from very early on. As soon as they were introduced, I actually was like, yep, that's that person. Like, I just think so many books are just so predictable in a lot of ways. I just didn't know their motive behind it. I knew they're working potentially with or for somebody else. That was it. And was I correct? Yeah. And that's it. I honestly just don't really know how I feel about this book, other than it's not great. And I don't really know if I'd recommend it. I mean, if you're looking for that dark academia feel, it gives you that for like very small portions of this book, and then it's just thrown away. And the only part of this that actually felt fast was part 6, which was like the last 20 pages of the book. So, the only good thing I kind of liked was, I thought that was really interesting that Theo was mentioned. Theo was the therapist from The Silent Patient, and I like that there was that little blip in there for us, and it connected the two stories. Like, I like that stories kind of connect their own universes, and I think that's cool, but I don't care enough to give a shit, but there you go. Anyway, so I don't really think that he's the author for me. Will I give him another chance? A third chance? I don't really know. I'm thinking about it. I just don't really know if it's the right style for me. I don't really think I like the themes. I don't like how things aren't respected. I just don't really think he might be a good author for me. But up next, we have One Last Stop. And I'm trying to keep my expectations level. I'm trying to keep them in check. So that's the next stop on this adventure, and let's hope it's better than this one. So I finally picked up One Last Stop, and I'm already on chapter 2. And I have to say, I'm already foreseeing a lot of the same issues I had with Casey McQuiston's first book. I just don't really like long chapters. The first chapter was 20 pages long, and for some reason, their writing just doesn't capture me. It doesn't make me want to continue reading. I just feel like shorter chapters would definitely benefit this author, like 100%. Like, they definitely should just, even 10 pages long, I'd be okay with that. But 20 pages for the first opening chapter. I do love the found family we're seeing already. So basically, August, she goes to New York City, like on a whim. She's from the South. She's from like Louisiana or something. She's there for school. And she finds a room for like $700 to rent, and she's renting it. And she's also ending up working at like a cute little diner, which is really cool. And her her newfound family, who basically is her roommates. We've really got to see them like too much yet, but we also haven't got to see much of anybody because it's only been 2 chapters in. But also, she's already met Jane, which is the girl on the train, which is the girl from the 70s, and Jane gave her a red scarf. And she keeps thinking about Jane. And again, I'm just like, how are there this many pages for a book I just feel like is so wrapped up already? And it's not even like it's wrapped up, I just feel like we already set the scene. I feel like it's gonna be kind of predictable, and I'm just like kind of wondering where we're gonna go from here. Because at least in Red, White, and Royal Blue, I can't ever say that, like the whole thing. Anyway, in that book, there was a lot of political like stuff, and there was like a political plot, but I feel like I'm not really sure there's like a plot driving this. It just seems like really character driven, and I just kind of like don't super care yet. But I'm a terrible person. I'm literally 28 pages in, and I'm just not really feeling it, but that's fine. I'm gonna try my best. I'm obsessed with this cover. I'm literally obsessed with it. Like, this is like the most beautiful cover ever. And I have to like it at least a little bit. But also I have the audiobook version of this, so I love doing that when I get books. I love trying to like time the audiobooks with the actual book from the library. So that way I can try to listen to it at night and like play games or something on my phone. So that's something I'm gonna try and do. Probably to get through a little bit of this because I don't really care to read it at the moment. But I think it's gonna be a better reading than the Maidens. Your lips spoke softly. You seem to like me. Hello, this is an impromptu update for One Last Stop because it has been multiple days since I last talked to you. I just got off work and I worked an extra 2 hours today, which I'm not happy about. And also I was on the fucking phone with a client today for an hour and a half, and I'm done. So I'll be ordering dinner very shortly, but I wanted to give you an update on this fucking book I wanted to finish yesterday. I'm on chapter 12, which is page 290. And the fact that I'm 290 pages in, and again, it's only 12 fucking chapters, is fucking annoying because you know what? These chapters do not need to be this fucking long. And there's so many points in these chapters they could have ended. And I just feel like that would definitely make my reading experience a lot better. And then also on page 275, I have a perfect example of what I talked about with Casey McQuiston's writing and how like it's very confusing sometimes, and it like hops in and out of like different like time frames or something. It's kind of hard to explain. But anyway, here's what's happening. They're in the kitchen of their apartment working on stuff. August turns to the whiteboard and makes a note. They'll plan on mid-August, 2 weeks before blank. I don't want to ruin parts of the book. And then it goes to, so what you're telling me is you're gonna rally a bunch of queers to blank and a drag show. Jane says when August catches her up. She's sun-warmed in the window of the train. August is trying not to think in love, I'm in terrible dumbass love. And then August says, yeah, basically, and then Jane says, that's so fucking hot. And then it goes back to, it comes together piece by piece. Like, if you're confused as I am, basically they were in the apartment, and then it shoots to a memory of August telling Jane about what they're planning in the apartment and what they're doing, and then shoots back to the apartment, and there's like no good transition there. Do you know what I'm saying? This is why I feel like this book is like digging to find the fucking story, because I have to reread things so many times, and I listen to a lot of this on audio, by the way. The writing is a struggle, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I finally found it this morning when I was reading early. I literally was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The whole plot of this basically is to find out why Jane is stuck on the train, and to help Jane, because we don't know why Jane's stuck on the train or what happened in the 70s to get her there. But I like some of the connections that are happening later in this book, but again, it's moving so slowly, and this book does not need to be 420 pages, and I'm not feeling the romance. And this is exactly the same issues that I was having with Red, White, and Royal Blue. Same exact issues. And I think it's just the author. I think, unfortunately, their writing just may never connect for me. Like, I'm not motivated to finish this, like, whatsoever. Like, I'm not motivated to finish it. I've been forcing myself. The only reason I've really gotten so far is because I've been listening on an audiobook as often as I can while I was like doing laundry and I was like cleaning and stuff and I was making dinner because I've been making very like long taking dinners lately. I don't know. Yeah, no. Anyway, we'll chat when I'm done with this fucking book.
Right place, right time. Had a feeling you'd be mine from the go. I wonder if we'll be.
I really don't want to talk about this book. You know, honestly, I don't even want to talk about One Last Stop. I fucking finished this like 2 weeks ago. I have tried to film this like 3 times. I hope you're seeing this because I'm tired of fucking filming it. Because I feel like I can never fully express how I feel about this book because I am so fucking conflicted. Because I can see why people would absolutely love this book and love their writing and love the characters. But I just didn't. And I think I just feel so conflicted because it had so many things I thought I was going to love. And I think that's like one of the most disappointing things in a book is when you like think you're gonna really enjoy it. And it's just like the biggest disappointment of the year. I don't know if I can go that far, but I mean, it's very disappointing because I especially thought I was going to like it more than Red, White, and Royal Blue because of the context, and I really wanted the sapphic relationship and the New York setting and the time travel spacey thing. I really was looking forward to that, and it did not hit at all. It was very flat for me. I'm gonna try and go through my fucking plethora of issues and hopefully try to get them out in a concise manner. Number 1, I was never invested in the romance. It was totally insta-lovey, and it really just felt convenient to the plot that August was the only one who was like tethering Jane to the train. Like basically Jane would kind of come alive with her, and she'd passed like the past 45 years not really knowing it was 45 years. It felt like months because she didn't really like, she wasn't like awake as often. But as soon as August came on, it was like totally different. I just felt like that was convenient and annoying and really insta-lovey, and I just never felt it between them. Not to mention the book was super slow. I almost DNF'd before the 50% mark. Like I struggled with the first half of this book. Like I struggled. It was like a half a star. And then the end kind of made up with it. So I'm going to give it a 2 star. It just really was frustrating because I feel like it was so slow. And then towards the end, there were so many moments that I wanted to like have fleshed out and they were fucking rushed over or like forgotten completely. And I'm just like annoyed because I feel like they're building up to certain things and they were just so glazed over it and I shouldn't fucking care. Also, I mean, I've never lived in New York, but I think I'm just really frustrated with, I feel like New York was so rose-colored glasses looked at. Like, New York is disgusting and it is gritty, it is loud, it is expensive, and I felt like New York was way too like romanticized for like the reality of this book of this student renting a room in New York. Not to mention all the plot holes around that. I mean, how could she afford to pay $700 a month? She's not even fucking going to class. Like, how is she passing her classes? How is she graduating on time? Like, I'm just so confused. Is she using her student loans for housing? Like, what's going on? I mean, not to mention, like, how does she even keep her fucking job? Because, number 1, how does a fucking diner job pay at least $700 a month on top of, like, other expenses, I'm sure? And she's not even at work for, like, weeks at a time. Like, again, there were so many fucking plot holes that just were not explained, and it's just really frustrating because, especially if you're gonna make someone a young New Yorker who's a student, who's working at a diner, like, obviously money's gonna be a fucking issue. New York is extremely expensive. And then she was, like, always buying shit for fucking Jane. I just felt like it was really unrealistic, and it totally threw me out of the story. I really enjoyed the characters, but at the same time, they always felt like they were supposed to be, like, the quirky, cool, queer, like, best friends, and I feel like most of the dialogue, like, never moved the plot along, and I didn't even really get to know the characters. It was just, like, useless dialogue and was frustrating. And another thing, so basically Jane like grew up in the 70s where being queer wasn't like cool and like people couldn't even be like in public together, and then August was like most people aren't like that anymore, and I just felt like you're completely glazing over the still blatant racism and sexism and homophobia and stuff we still have in our fucking society today. Like, just because maybe we're making strides doesn't mean it's fucking gone, and it doesn't mean that you are completely safe. I know so many of my friends who still don't feel safe holding hands on the street. I just felt like that was a really unfair like comparison. Like, that is some whitewashing bullshit. I don't know. I was really fucking annoyed, and I don't even know how a queer author even got that like through fucking beta readers, like, or sensitivity readers. Like, I don't understand. Anyway, the other big thing is that BU is Jane's real name, which is really cool, right? Here's the problem. Towards the fucking end, Jane asks August to call her BU, and then the rest of the fucking story, her as well as the fucking story, calls her Jane. I don't understand how she can fucking ask you specifically to call her BU and you're calling her Jane. It's literally like saying someone's dead name over and over and over. I'm just... what? I don't know, that really bothered the fuck out of me, and I read other people's reviews because I want to make sure I wasn't in the minority here, and I was in the majority. A lot of people said the same fucking thing, and I thought it was just really shitty. Anyway, this has already been a long enough of a rant, but The biggest issue I have with their books is the writing. I hate the writing style. I get very fucking confused with like this third person present tense. It is just so fucking unnerving to read, and I just get so lost, and I had to reread all the time. And it's the same issue I had with Red, White, and Royal Blue. And even though they have great concepts, the execution just does not work. The writing does not work. Anyway, I'm done ranting about this fucking book. It's taking me how goddamn long to get you this information because I just don't really care. And you know what? Would I read another one of their books? I don't really know. That's still up for decision. Do I really want to? I honestly don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching this absolute dumpster fire. And if you have any more books that you know that I have rated lowly and there's others by the author you'd like me to read, please let me know down below. I'll probably do another one of these eventually by these same authors. Hopefully not. Hopefully I learned my lesson. But at the same time, if it's really hyped up, sometimes I just want to read it to see what everyone's talking about. And if I want my opinion, I'll have my own opinion. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.